Unique Microschool opportunity. So this is something I have put together for people who have a microschool and they want to turn it into a private school, or they're just kind of done with the microschool, but they want to hold on to some of the information and the knowledge that they've gained along the way. Unique program. So what we're going to be looking at is something that could work with or without AI. Commonplace Book. That is the focus. So what we're going to do is we're going to essentially create a cheat sheet, which might not match with your individual microschool. But the point of this is to have a book made of +1 page per year. So obviously we're going to start at 0 pages. If you want to make it all about you or your school, you might add some information ahead of time. You could also just say, it's a microschool and I've got 9 students, so why don't I just have each one of the students fill out 1 page with the most useful information. Founder Ideologies. So this is where we get to the chart. So if we say we have 3 different microschools that want to turn into a private school, or maybe 3 people who are done with the microschool and they just want to preserve this, we could have 1 microschool represented by 3 students. And then of those 3 students, whichever one does poorly, or the worst out of all 3, is the person who doesn't pass on a copy of their notes. Now, this should be obvious, but if someone's not passing on their notes, it doesn't necessarily mean they're a bad student. It could also mean they simply lost their book. And so if the other 2 students are essentially doing an open book test all year, the student who isn't is going to be behind. So we're also going to have 1 student who actually passes on 1 copy of their notes. So this means a student next year will simply get a copy of something that worked. And then the final group is 1 student that did the best, or in the top third. And so all you do is you take the notes and you make 2 copies. And then you hand 1 copy to 1 new student and the other copy to another new student. And so if you keep all of these isolated for a while, or you have a minimum requirement of 3, then all you have to do is follow that pattern. You just have 1 pass, 1 super pass, and then 1 not at all. Automatic house legacy. So if you're trying to create a school system that has some sort of house system built in, where there are individual containers within the school, you don't have to create groups or teams. This will just automatically do it for you. So just as a reminder, 1/3 continue, 1/3 double, and then the last third just kind of ends. Protecting perspectives. Now you might be thinking, wait a second, I could have this go on forever as it is, or I could allow it to just like take over the entire system. Now if you do this, and it's built from individual microschools, or the only remaining legacy that exists of them, people might get a little agitated, because it's like, look, we had this thing going on within this new system for more than 5 years, but the microschool itself was more than 15 years. So it feels like we're just throwing away a bunch of history and unique perspectives. And we don't really want to do that. Now, some people might want to do that. It might also be that even after combining all of your microschools into 1 individual school, that school has to shrink again. And so you might end up with some tough choices. Creating a new branch. Now, I think we've gone through all the other stuff, and now we want to focus on this brown stuff over here. So like, what's going on here? Well, obviously the blue took over everything and wiped out the green or the teal. And the orange kind of survives. Like, there's not a lot left. But then this brown thing over here is to create a 3rd branch, because we used to have 3, and it got a little weird when we only had 2, right? Because we're probably only going to end up with 1 eventually. And so what we're going to do in the meantime is we're going to say, look, this book, which belonged to a student that did very well, that is automatically doubling, we're actually going to make that its own brand new branch. And so those books are going to be considered part of a new category. And so all this does is it allows you to create another group rather than having everything be 1. So anyways, there's a lot more I could say about this, like which pages I think would be good to add. Like, if you're taking a chemistry class, might be nice to have a periodic table. If you're taking a history class, a historical timeline might not be bad. And we could probably say there's at least 1 useful page for every single subject. But let me know down below which pages you would add. And with that, that's the video. So thank you for watching, and bye!